Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how exercise actually leads to fat loss, and that is because I just did a video on why weight loss can be difficult. And if you missed that, click here to watch it. But in that video I talked about some of the things that your body does when you're trying to lose weight that make it much harder to achieve your goals. And I think one of the things you really need to understand when you are trying to lose weight is how your body actually gets rid of fat, because if you understand that, then you can make sure you are doing all the right things in terms of your workouts, and it also helps you sift through all the misinformation that is out there when you're doom scrolling on TikTok. All of this means that you will get the best results and not waste any of your time, because let's face it, time is the thing that no one seems to have at the moment. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that weight loss and fat loss are actually two different things. Weight loss is when your body weight, the number on the scale, goes down. Now that means in order for that number to have gone down, you may have lost fat, but you also may have lost muscle, water, and glycogen, which, remember, glycogen is the storage form of glucose. So what that means is weight loss is not always a good thing. A lot of people may say that if you are overweight or obese, then the most important thing is weight loss. But it's important to actually point out that muscle is the last thing you want to lose, and if your weight loss is coming from muscle loss, then I wouldn't say that's the best move for your health. Fat loss, on the other hand, that is specifically about the loss of body fat in your body while making sure that your muscle mass stays around. And this is much better for your health, because when you hear about the fact that being overweight or obese is a health risk for heart disease, diabetes, or other chronic diseases, it's actually having too much body fat that's the risk. So then reducing fat is the best thing for your health. And if weight loss is your goal, the best way to go about it is to try to get fat loss while preserving or even increasing the amount of muscle mass that you have, because that is the best for your metabolic health. But okay, now you know, fat loss and weight loss are not the same thing. So how will exercise then lead to fat loss? Because it's not exactly new information that if you want to lose fat, then exercise is one of the most important things besides diet. So if you have heard about this whole idea of calories in versus calories out, then exercise is part of the calories outside of that theory. And what this equation essentially means is that in order for you to lose weight or fat, then the amount of calories that you consume through food needs to be less than the calories that you burn throughout the day. And if you want to increase the amount of calories that you burn through the day, you can exercise, because that takes up a fair amount of energy. Then, because you're now needing more energy compared to what you are getting through food, your body will start to use storage forms of energy like fat and break those stores down to essentially get the energy it needs. This is how you lose weight in the most basic way. That's kind of what it all just boils down to. So what happens with exercise is that you have to put your body in a position where it now needs to create some energy for itself. And it has a few options, and the first thing it will usually do is break down carbohydrate storage in your body. This is glycogen, the storage form of glucose that I have talked about in past videos. And then it could break down muscle, or it could break down fat. And for now, I am only going to focus on how it breaks down fat, and this is done through a process called fat oxidation. Now, it sounds intimidating, but in simple terms, fat oxidation is just the name given to the process that your body goes through to turn fat into energy. Now bear with me, because for the next couple of minutes I am going to go into the science of what is happening during fat oxidation. So this is what your fat cells look like, and you can see the largest part is called a fat reservoir, and inside that area are fatty acids. So when your body is in need of energy, it can make these fat cells release the fatty acids that are inside them. Fatty acids are what all fats end up breaking down into. Remember when I talked about carbohydrates, I said that they all break down into their smallest form, and that tends to be glucose. But with fats, when you eat them, they all break down to their smallest form, and that tends to be fatty acids. So these come out of storage, and then they travel into your blood, and they go to the cells that need the energy. which in the case of doing exercise is probably your muscle cells. So once they're in the cells, they move into these small, tiny structures called mitochondria, which if you did high school biology, you may know is the powerhouse of the cell. But mitochondria is the area in every cell that energy is actually made. So the fatty acids, they are now in the mitochondria. They go through a series of chemical reactions, which I will not go into any more depth than that unless you want this channel to turn into a biochemistry channel. But this process is called oxidation, and at the end of it, your fatty acids will be used up and you instead will have ATP, which is the energy currency of your body. Now that ATP will then be used by your muscle cells to do whatever exercise activity you are doing, whether that's some running or going for a PB on the deadlift. So there you have it. That's how your body turns fat into energy. The more you know. Now what you probably want to know is, what is the best way to exercise for optimal fat burning? Well, the good news is that there is no one best way to exercise for fat loss, but research has found a few options. So low to moderate intensity workouts that go on for a longer period of time can be beneficial. So when I say low to moderate intensity, I mean that your heart rate will be reaching about 50 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. And if you want a quick way to figure out what your maximum heart rate is, just subtract your age from 220. Now the research has essentially found that at this intensity, your body will be using mainly fat stores as a source of energy. And the good thing about this is that having a low to moderate intensity is more sustainable and you can exercise for a longer amount of time. Now we already know that aerobic exercise or cardio is great for your heart, but it also is better in terms of fat loss, and that is because with cardio you can actually do this low to moderate intensity for however long you want and just maintain it, and this is what your body prefers for using fat as an energy source. And the process that I was talking about before with fat oxidation, that process requires oxygen in order to get the energy from the fatty acids. So you need aerobic exercise because you then will have enough oxygen to drive this process. If you're a bit worried because you just don't have the time to do those longer cardio-based workouts, then don't worry, because HIIT workouts or high intensity interval training has also been found to be quite beneficial for fat loss. And this is when you have a short burst or a high intensity exercise, and that may be a sprint, but that is then followed by either rest periods or a period of a lower intensity exercise like a walk. Now HIIT workouts actually burn carbohydrates more, especially in those high intensity bursts of exercise, but what's been found is that HIIT leads to a better afterburn effect, which is the period of time after you are finished exercising, where you may be resting, but your body is still using up energy to repair itself and restock energy stores, and during this, fat is used to drive the energy that's needed. So HIIT workouts can be a good option if you are time poor, but still wanting to work on fat loss with your workouts. Now, none of this is to say that resistance training or lifting weights isn't going to help with fat loss. I would actually encourage getting weights involved in your workouts, and that's because you will increase the amount of muscle tissue that you have if you do resistance training. And having more muscle tissue is great because then you can use energy or burn calories even when you aren't working out. Muscle tissue requires energy to maintain it because it's going through things like repair well after you finish doing your exercise, and that takes up energy, and that actually increases the calories out part of the equation. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at rest when you aren't doing anything, and that leads to fat loss over time. And that would be playing the long game because you get the effects over the long term, which, as you all know, is how I like to do things. So there you have it. A bit of an explanation on how fat loss works and how to change up your exercise routine to make sure you're getting the best possible results. Now, of course, you will get the best results if you not only exercise, but change up your diet, but I will go into diet in future videos. I think everyone's attention spans aren't large enough for me to do longer videos, so take the information from this one, see what changes you can make, and then come back next week for more. Please don't forget to subscribe and give a like if you learned something, and comment any questions you have, and I'll see you next week. Until then, keep playing the long game.